Welcome to another episode of My Awesome Podcast. I am Salim. This is Mike. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get in it.
So, one of the first things I wanted to start out with, this is going to be a little weird. It kind of explains how my mind works. I was watching something where evidently you can buy an old-timey bike.
Okay.
You know, like the one with the big wheel in the front?
Yeah.
But you can buy a modern version of that.
Okay.
Okay. And so then that made me start thinking about, well, they're called penny farthings. And it made me think about that.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, I think the point is, the point of having the big wheel in the front was to give the rider mechanical advantage. So, because the pedals were attached to the front wheel.
Oh, okay.
So as they pedaled, you know, that little bit of motion was translated to a big wheel, so
Right.
they got to go faster.
Okay.
But they kept making the wheels faster or bigger and bigger, so they kept going faster and faster.
Yeah.
And I just thought, at what point did we invent the chain so that we didn't?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because those seem insanely dangerous. So I've got a picture of it over here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and this is like what everyone remembers,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So they would make the wheel bigger and bigger to go faster and faster, and they would race them and all kinds, like all the stuff we do with bikes right now.
Oh, right.
But then I thought, well, wait a second. When did we go to the normal bicycle?
Yeah.
And as I started looking into that, I actually found out that this is not the first bike. I thought this was the first bike, right?
Yeah.
Evidently, the first bike was known as a Swift Walker, and it looked like this.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So a Swift Walker or a dandy horse or a hobby horse. I don't know. But originally they had two similar size wheels. In fact, this one's got a little bit larger one in the back, but a lot of times they had the same size wheels. And you basically sat on it, and then you kind of leaned against the front, and you had a steering wheel that didn't, you know, it wasn't like handlebars today. You kind of moved it back and forth, almost like a rudder for a boat.
Yeah.
And then you just push off with your feet, which I guess would give you a little bit of advantage because you could roll down a hill, or once you push off with your feet, you could get moving and coast for a little while. But then they discovered, well, they could put pedals on it.
Yeah.
But then the issue is with that is if you have the same size wheels, you don't go very fast.
Yeah.
So then they just kept making the wheel bigger. And the issue with that, obviously, is that it's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you get down or
Well,
up on the thing?
Well, there are pegs towards the back here, if I can point right here.
Oh, I see.
There's a peg right here. So the way to get on it is you actually kind of push it, and you put one foot up there, and then once it starts rolling forward, you kind of hop up on it.
Yeah. Okay.
But now, if you hit anything, or if you had to stop abruptly or anything, you would just head her over the front and smash your face on the concrete or whatever you were on. So then, eventually, after that, they moved to the normal bicycle. But back then, this was the normal bicycle. So the new bicycle, when they invented the chain, was called a safety bike.
Okay. Yeah. That would be safer than.
Yeah, because I just thought the whole thing was very odd. This all happened in the 1800s. The bicycle, or the safety bicycle, the bike we know today, was invented back then. But until they were able to invent the chain to actually use like a big sprocket up by where your pedals are, your feet are, and then a smaller one in the back to give you mechanical advantage, people didn't want a bike with two of the same wheels.
Yeah.
But without knowing that, you look back and you think, why would you do that? It seems it's a pain to get up on. It's dangerous to ride.
Yeah.
But now that I know that they make new ones, and I've never been on one,
Are you gonna try one?
I kind of.
Yeah.
When you just like around the street or something, just around the driveway, just to say you did it.
Yeah. I guess just for the experience.
Yeah, and then afterwards, I probably would. It'd wear off in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of that Saw movie. You know, the horror, the scariest movie.
Yeah, I know what the Saw movies are, but wait, which Saw movie does it remind you of?
Well, just of the cover, because I think there was one like image of the Jigsaw character on one of them type of bikes. Not that big,
Okay.
but riding around on a bike that with one big front tire.
Huh.
So anyway, that's off topic.
Either way, my mind
Yeah.
wandered, and I thought, I want to talk about this for a second because I just thought it was funny that this was the bicycle, and the bike we know
Yeah.
is the safety bike.
Yeah. Hey, I have a joke for you.
Okay.
2 drums and a cymbal fall off a hill. Dum.
Okay, that's definitely a dad joke, but I thought there was going to be a little back and forth.
Not this time. I had to switch it up a little bit.
Okay, very nice.
Okay, I had to get into some a little bit silly before we get into some serious.
Okay.
Okay, so this story that I want to get into, I got a little bit of background information before I talk about the full thing.
Sure.
So there's this individual, his name is Dexter Wade. Okay. Him and his mother got into an argument at home, and I don't know what the argument was about, but he kind of stormed off. And she was giving him a little bit of time to cool off, so she didn't like chase him, run after him right away.
Right.
But she began to worry because it became like hours and days, and she hadn't heard from him. And all that time, it became about like 6 months.
Now, I read something about this. I think we're talking about the same one. They had gotten in arguments before, and he had like left for the day.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this time it was more than a
Yeah,
day.
it was more than that.
Okay.
So she had reason to worry.
Right.
So she started to look into it more, but she couldn't find anything out. Well, actually, when he was out, he was crossing the street and ended up getting hit by a car. But it wasn't just anybody; it was a police car.
Oh.
So the police took his body, like called the ambulance. He had identification on him, but somehow along the lines, it never got. His family never got contacted.
And he passed away.
Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah.
After they could not find anyone to contact, they ended up putting him in the Potter's Field, however you want to call it. And that's where his body was until his mother, like it was like months later, when she kind of found out that that's where he was buried and what happened to him.
Man, that's messed up.
Yeah. So the mother ends up continually do searches for her son. And then I think she goes kind of public with it, but somehow she ends up finding out that what happened to her son, and that he was buried in this field.
Right.
And so she goes to like look at it and sees like it's horrible looking. It's like a whole bunch of kind of unmarked graves. They're identified with like a metal pole and a number, and it's horrible stench and everything. So, her son was buried back there, even though he had identification on him. Somewhere along the line, it got missed, and she never got notified. So that story opened up something larger, and that's what this article is all about.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah.
I put up on the screen a picture of the field.
Yeah. So what's been happening is that any kind of unclaimed bodies that have passed end up getting buried in this field. Now, the problem with this is that they did not bury them like very deep. It's kind of a shallow grave. Sometimes there's more than one body in there, and they just put them in a body bag.
Right. And they just number them or something,
just number
right?
them, right?
Yeah.
And which I don't know how they would. I mean, I guess somehow they get a name for the person and then associate that name with the number. But once again, it's weird because if they like, I think my biggest hang up about this is that it's 2024 right now, which maybe this happened in December of 23. But either way, like we live in a time where it's not difficult to find somebody,
Right.
you
right.
know. So the fact that this is going on seems like even more of an atrocity than the actual.
Without having access to whatever police databases that the police have access to,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if I just know somebody's name, I can find out all kinds of stuff online.
Yeah.
I can find out your address and your phone number and a bunch of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the only thing I don't know is like, so like I've never committed a crime, but I should be like in the system somehow, right? Like if something happened, like can they identify me by my fingerprints,
Well,
or is it only like a criminal database of people?
there's multiple criminal databases where if you've ever been, I guess, checked into jail, I would
Mhm.
say when they, what do they call that? When
When
they
you're booked,
processed
yeah,
you or
yeah,
booked.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And when they take your fingerprints and your picture and things like that, then
mhm,
that goes into a database.
yeah,
So your fingerprints and stuff wouldn't be on file
mhm,
unless that had happened to you. Now, then the FBI also has a database where your fingerprints and pictures could be in their database for the exact same reason,
mhm,
or it could be for other reasons. Like I used to work for trading companies and I
mhm,
had access to some of the trading floors. So I needed to be fingerprinted and ID'd
yeah,
by the FBI.
yeah,
So I'm sure that I'm in some database for that. I mean,
right,
that was just a requirement. I couldn't get a badge to get on the floor
mhm,
until I got this.
yeah,
Now, I would say beyond that, though, there are just public records. Like if you buy a house
mhm,
or, uh, you know, if you have utilities turned on, things like that.
mhm. Okay,
I mean,
but
when I
but
look
typ-
up things online, I don't have access to any criminal
right,
databases.
right,
I just
yeah,
have access to like,
yeah,
you bought a house, so that's public
right,
knowledge.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess one thing like to clear up if that if because I mean we have so much technology, people are always worried about their information or whatever. So it's just interesting that in today's day and age that like if you have someone's name but they're not in the date or
Right.
like how would you find
Yeah, I read a little bit
individuals?
about this, and I thought I don't know what was going on there. The fact that it was a police car that hit him,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was like I don't know, cover up thing. I don't want to say that without proof, but it
Yeah,
just felt weird
yeah,
that he had identifications on him. But then is this something that actually happens quite often
mm-hmm.
where things fall through the cracks?
Yeah,
Uh, I really don't know, but the whole thing just kind of was. I got the same feeling that you
yeah,
did when I was like, what the hell?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I guess it seems pretty common because there's like 215 unmarked graves there. Um, when this story came out. So,
But I think some of those graves are even, people that have passed away. Maybe they have identification, and
mhm.
then they reach out to
Oh
the
yeah,
family, and then the family doesn't claim them, and then
yeah,
they're like, well,
right, yeah,
and that could be for multiple reasons.
right,
Maybe they hate them,
yeah,
or maybe they don't have any money, and they're
right,
like, well, if I claim them, then it's going to cost me thousands of
hmm,
dollars,
yeah, yeah,
for a funeral.
yeah. And I think a part of the uproar too is that like there are people, which I mean, it's true what you said. There's probably people in there who have been notified, and for whatever reason they can't claim the body, but there are a lot of people who can do that, who have relatives or friends who they believe were missing for all this time, but
Right.
they're already passed and buried in this field. Um, so it's just crazy, like that in 2024, things like this has come up,
Yeah, it does. It does feel like an old timey
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Like, oh, we asked around town, nobody knew him.
right.
Must
Yeah,
have been from another town.
yeah. And then to clear up some other things, like even though this is Mississippi, it's not a race thing. I think some people would jump to that because it was cleared up that there are like white deceased individuals. So it's not like it's all
Yeah.
has
I
some
get
great.
there's a lot of people that jump to that right
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
And I at least me personally, when I heard about the story,
yeah,
I was thinking,
yeah.
no, it was like a didn't follow up kind of
Yes,
thing.
yeah, yeah. So it's unfortunate, but
Yeah. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, it's like corporate jokes
okay.
where, how do I even explain this? Either a corporation or a wealthy individual names some product that they have or business that they have in a way where it's kind of,
Mhm.
it's a joke.
Yeah.
And sometimes the public is in on it, and sometimes the public is not in on it.
Okay.
But either way, sometimes it's just I've seen several of these. Is where I'm going. I know I'm stumbling over my words,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I watched one recently, and I thought it was pretty hilarious. So John D. Rockefeller, who owned Standard Oil or started Standard Oil, he grew his business in transporting oil from transporting them on trains, then later on pipelines. And there was one point where 90%, I believe, of the oil used in the United States was coming from him. And at that point, the government stepped in and said, no, like that's a monopoly. And they broke up the company. Well, when they did that, they were told, all the like new companies were said, you can't use the name Standard Oil. Well, you have to use something else. And a lot of them just renamed to whatever the local area was, or they just came up with like a local name or whatever. But one of the companies that was in New Jersey was like, I don't want to use a different name. I want to use Standard Oil because it's got clout behind it, for it to use a new term. The thing is everyone knows Standard Oil, so they wanted to use Standard Oil. Well, another way that people would say Standard Oil when they refer to it is they call it SO for Standard Oil.
Okay.
So the U.S. government said, no, you can't name yourself Standard Oil or anything that has the name Standard Oil in it. Pick something else. So they got a little creative. So there used to be a gas station company in the East Coast that was named ESSO, which is ESSO. Which kind of sounds like SO.
That's nice.
So they were like, you know what? If you want to play by these rules, then fine. We'll skirt the line a little bit. And they let that happen.
Nice.
And I just think that's hilarious because that was one of the more successful smaller companies that broke up. And later on, they became ExxonMobil.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's not like they've gone away. And in other countries, they still use the SO name.
Nice. That's pretty creative.
But there's other ones that are like this too. So when Tesla first came out, I think we're all aware of Elon Musk's unique sense of humor. I mean, as a fellow nerd, I'm a nerd. It's nerdy humor, but it's hilarious. So his very first production car was the Model S. Okay, then after the Model S, they wanted to make an SUV. So they used the Model S's platform to make the Model X. Okay, but then they wanted to make a car that was cheaper, that was for the masses. So they wanted to make the Model E. But now Ford said, no, you can't use that because we've already registered that name. Because back in the day, there used to be Model Ts and Model As. And so Ford already had that registered. And they said they were going to use it. Now, they haven't used it. I don't know. I think they were just like an F you to Tesla. So then Tesla said, fine, we'll name it the Model 3. So then after they made their mid-size car for the masses, they wanted to make an SUV, a mid-size SUV, just like they did before with the S. They made the X. Well, this time they made the 3, and then they made the Y, which their cars look like this.
Okay.
So if we go from the left to right, that is the Model S, the Model 3, the Model X, and the Model Y, which I saw their logo on a sweatshirt that they sell, and it basically spells sexy.
That's hilarious.
So he would get up on stage and be like, "Aren't our cars sexy?" He even made a comment like, "This is like a $100 billion joke or a $10 billion joke or whatever." But I the public's in on this one. I think this is funny. Okay. But then there are other ones where I just don't even know how they get away with this, is my point. Like the government can say no. Like if you were to say something perverse and you're going to put it up on a sign, the public can be like, we don't want, you can call your business that, you just can't put a sign out or something, But then there are these gas stations that are the come and go. I mean, come on. And they spelled it K-U-M. I don't know.
I'm surprised they let that pass.
How are they getting away with that? It's hilarious.
Is it somebody's name or last name?
I have no idea. I doubt it. I think it's a play on, coming and going, but it's also Okay. But then sometimes there are um, mishaps, let's call it.
Okay.
Okay. So there is a company that is now named American Recycling LLC,
Okay.
but they used to be named, sorry,
Yeah.
they used to be named American Scrap Metal.
Okay.
And that's a great name, right? They recycle metal
Hmm.
and it's from America. They're proud.
Yeah.
American
Yeah.
Scrap Metal.
Yeah.
Except for when we evolved to the point where everyone needed a website, this is their website. America's Crap Metal.
Oh man. Yeah.
And see,
Yeah.
it was American Scrap Metal,
Yeah.
and I guess they changed it to American Recycling LLC, but
Hmm.
this is just unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And their website right now, the one I just showed you guys,
Hmm.
it's still americanscrapmetal.net.
Oh yeah.
But they're calling themselves American
American
Recycling LLC.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good change. Which I mean, you would think that they would have changed the website name, but who knows? Maybe that's instead of the company name, but maybe that's bringing in more attraction. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you know what? I never even knew about this company until I started looking up
Yeah.
unfortunate
Yeah.
or joke names or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Still, come and go.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of this Family Guy episode I saw, and there was a company that sold like women's clothing, but it was called Britches and Hose, which I know that's not a real one, but
Yeah, that reminds me. I just saw. Oh, and it was a famous comedian. Oh, I can't remember, but he's like 6'7", I think,
mhm,
and he was saying how he has to buy all of his clothing at a special store.
mhm.
When he went to the store, he picked out a shirt, and the shirt's brand was too tall, and it just kind of feels like I have to buy shirts that are tall,
Mhm.
but I've also seen like other stores, like Husky stores. How do they get away with that?
Yeah.
And it's because you don't really have a choice,
Yeah.
you know? But either way, it's still funny.
I know that was a funny story. Switching gears to a little bit more serious, and this is part of my Michigan segment.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a individual by the name of Gary Artman.
Okay.
So I'm not sure you're familiar with that name, but this individual was in the hospital for lung cancer. He was passing away soon, but he's also been in the news for other things. So on his kind of deathbed, he called in the police and made a shocking confession that he committed about 11 murders. So he,
You know, when you said originally, I don't know, a month ago or 2 months ago that you were going to do a Michigan segment,
yeah.
they've all been murders.
Well, they haven't all been. And listen,
It's like
listen,
2 weeks ago, it was like child murders.
Yeah. Well, listen. Yeah, I know that happened recently too. But I mean, listen. This one, which I'm not trying to be morbid, but and jumping to the end, like this individual who did these horrible things did pass from lung cancer. So I mean, he committed some horrible things, but
But he never served any time. He
Well,
never paid for those
yeah,
crimes.
so he was linked to a previous murder. I don't know if how much
Oh,
time
he
he
was
did.
in
Yeah,
jail?
he was.
Okay.
I don't know how much time he did, but he was in jail previously, like for a murder he was linked to. However, there were 10 other ones that he did not get linked to, but he confessed to. And while on his deathbed, they were kind of scrambling to get more details to make sure that it was legit. And from what they could find, it was legit that he was a long haul truck driver. And I think he made his route, like he passed through Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then that's where he would commit some of these murders. And they were done on like street workers who worked in like the red light district at the time, because some of this was done in like in the 90s, around like 1996.
Prostitutes.
Yeah, prostitutes.
Why are you saying street workers?
Isn't that what you say now?
I don't know.
Okay, but yeah, prostitutes. So, but the thing is, it doesn't make them any less human.
No, I wasn't thinking that. Is that what you were
No,
thinking?
no, I'm just saying.
Oh,
So you gotta do what you gotta do.
I thought we were talking about murderers here. Okay, well, that's really messed up.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't know. It's so crazy that like it wasn't just one. Like he didn't just say, "Hey, I ended up committing a crime a couple years ago, and I killed someone." But no, it was like 10 additional people along with the one they knew about.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
That he was basically getting away with 10 other murders.
Yeah. It's just insane that who knows how many other people out there
Right.
have a similar story. Or, I mean, we just talked about, the other issue where in Mississippi there was like unmarked,
Graves.
grave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, it's such a crazy, sad thing that happens that, that's in someone's psyche to kind of commit a murder. You see someone that you don't know, and that's the thing that you do is like torture them and hurt them, and then end up killing them and taking their life. When like you have no idea who this person is, regardless of profession. So if you had some disdain for prostitutes, you can just leave them alone. But I don't know, just such a horrible thing. But once again, I mean, it's credit to like the police work, of the Grand Rapids Police Department to tie all the things together. And
All right. Well, I just have a request. Next week, can it be happy?
I'll do my best.
Okay. I don't even know how to start this. You know how most places have like a flag, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And they also have other things to represent them. Like they dedicate things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the United States animal is
The eagle.
Yep, the bald eagle.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then do you know what the animal for the state of Michigan is?
No, the beaver.
No, it's I thought you were gonna guess Wolverine because a lot of people
true,
say
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's the white-tailed deer.
Okay.
The Wolverine was just it was a slang nickname.
Yeah.
There's
no such thing as a or a
no, there's a real thing as a
okay,
Wolverine,
okay.
and it's a horrible, ugly beast.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. Anyone who lives in Ohio and Michigan will understand that there's an Ohio and Michigan rivalry, which goes back to the beginning of the state.
Yeah.
It all has to do with the Toledo Strip. I'm not going to get too far into it. But the point is Ohio actually gave us that name.
Oh, okay.
They were calling us Wolverines like a disgusting beast of an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And then we thought, it's a ferocious animal that you don't want to mess with.
Yeah.
So we took it on
Nice.
as our own. Okay. Okay. But it's not the Wolverine. It's a white-tailed deer.
Okay.
So we also have a state bird. The state bird for Michigan is the American robin.
Okay.
And we have a state flower, and the flower for Michigan is the apple blossom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All states have these. A lot of countries have them.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what Scotland's animal is?
With Scotland, I would assume it's the Loch Ness monster.
Okay. Almost as screwed up.
Yeah.
It's a unicorn.
The unicorn.
Okay. This is kind of back to what I was saying before about the funny names.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes companies troll us, and I feel like an entire country is trolling the world.
Yeah.
Because they're well aware
Yeah.
that unicorns don't exist.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they picked the unicorn.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know you could do that. I thought you had to pick a real thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like, why doesn't some country just go the dragon?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah. Why do they get to do that?
Yeah.
So then that made me look into some other things that I would say that area believes in and thinks about.
Yeah.
And one thing I was looking at was Iceland. It's kind of that area of the
Okay,
world.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I get they're not in the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Like 50% of them believe in elves or fairies.
Okay.
And they believe that they have to do certain things. Otherwise, they will anger the elves or fairies.
Yeah.
And then the elves or fairies will seek retribution on them.
Mm.
And I can't tell if that's a troll
Yeah.
or that's I think that's a real thing. But
Yeah.
Scotland's got to be a troll, right?
Mhm.
They picked unicorn.
Uh,
I mean, that has to be them making
what
fun
if
of us,
it's
right?
not a troll? What if they're like, yeah, it's unicorn?
You think that they believe that it's the unicorns are real,
Mm, maybe.
or they just
No.
don't care and they don't play
Yeah,
by anyone else's rules?
I think it's that.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that I think that there are multiple states in the U.S. that have the white-tailed deer as the animal. So even though it's no better than like the unicorn, but like, come on now, like there can't be a rule that there has to be like maybe one state per animal. You can't get creative enough to like steal someone else's.
Okay, wait a second. I had no idea about this until you just said it. So I just looked this up.
Mm.
They're in many states.
Yeah.
But how many states actually claim it as their state animal? It looks like Arkansas, Georgia, and Illinois also do too.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea about this.
And like I know that we have a lot of deer in this country. They're all over the place. But there are other animals that it might be unique or more significant in some states. Like, are those states hunting states where maybe that's why? Because a big hunting population, so they just term that the animal.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because in Michigan, I would say that seems accurate. Like it's a huge hunting state here, so yeah, I can understand the deer.
Okay, now just further down this rabbit hole, now that you brought that up, it looks like Minnesota does not have a state animal, but many have been suggested, and one that they're suggesting is white-tailed deer. I would just like to say to Minnesota,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, come on, do something else.
No, yeah.
They're not original.
Too many other people have already done that.
Yeah.
Also, Mississippi has a white-tailed deer and red fox. Seems a little greedy, Mississippi. Nebraska is a white-tailed deer. New Hampshire's white-tailed deer. Ohio's white-tailed deer. Okay, Ohio.
Yeah.
Come on. Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Wisconsin.
Mm-mm-mm.
Well,
Shameful.
I understand about Wisconsin. I mean, they're just basically wannabe Michigan anyways. The UP should belong to us.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about, I just wanted to have a little conversation about something. So thinking about time before like our pandemic and all that. And I remember stores I would go to. Like
This better not be a "Make America Great
no,
Again"
this
speech.
is not.
Remember the old days,
Yeah,
Mike?
No, it wasn't even not even like that. But I just remember like going into the store and I would see some people that already had a mask on. You know,
Okay.
this is pre-pandemic, all that kind of stuff. And there's always been people who have like health risk or whatever, autoimmune disease, whatever.
Right.
So maybe that's why they're wearing a mask. Okay, but then I started to think too, like, do you realize like how I don't want to say disgusting, but maybe that's the word, because things out there are very, like it could be kind of terrifying when you think about it, because you have people who
You're saying, do I realize how disgusting the world is?
or just other people sometimes. Like I don't listen,
You're talking to a person that just hides in his house all the time. I'm not hiding here.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
yeah.
I'm surrounded by my things.
But here's the thing. So I have been in a public place, like in a store, and in the restroom, I have seen so many times people use the stall and they walk out without washing their hands. Okay. Once again, just not even talk about like pandemic stuff or anything like that. Just basic hygiene. Like I can't even imagine using the stall and not washing your hands afterwards, or doing something else. Like I don't want to get too gross, but I'm just saying, like, if you have an itch or something in a place where you should, like, okay, I should go wash my hands after that. Those things are very prevalent that people don't do that. And then not to mention all the other things that happen, like all the crazy germs out there, all the like diseases that little kids come home with after school, like hand, foot, and mouth.
Yeah.
Just all types of stuff. I can understand why people would like wear gloves or a mask out in public.
You know, and in Asian, several different Asian countries, that's kind of a normal thing.
Mhm.
If you're sick, or maybe if you just don't want to get sick, you wear a mask. It's not
Yeah.
that big a deal.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it wasn't a thing until the pandemic, and then
Mhm.
it was a thing.
Yeah.
And to be real honest, when I'm in a store and I see people like coughing and hacking away,
Mhm.
whether it's COVID or not,
Yeah.
put an effing mask on.
Yeah.
And to all those whiners that are
Mhm.
like, I can't breathe with it
Mhm.
on,
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you should be on oxygen or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, really.
drywallers will wear it all day long as they're
Oh, yeah.
sanding their drywall.
Mhm.
Don't seem to have an issue.
Yeah.
I've done like I have like a wood shop or whatever in
Mhm.
the garage. Been working on things, been sanding things.
Yeah.
Put a mask on all day. It's not that.
Yeah.
They're made to be breathed through.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you're not gonna make a mask that you can't breathe through, like, and you're gonna suffocate. It's not. That's not really a thing.
Do you remember? You just talking about how disgusting the world is. Do you remember? Did you watch MythBusters back in the day?
A little bit, a couple episodes.
Okay, so they were debunking or proving the myth about when you flush the toilet,
Mm-hmm.
does that send a plume
Mm-hmm.
of basically
Oh, yeah,
poo all over the place?
Yeah.
Okay, so they first put dry ice in the toilet and flushed it,
Mm-hmm.
and you could clearly see a waft of everything that went up.
Yeah.
So then they put toothbrushes all over the place. They put them all over the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
They put them out in the hallway. They even put them in the kitchen. They
Mhm.
put them all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Then later on, they tested a bunch of the toothbrushes, both in and outside of the bathroom, and then tested things like the seat of the toilet and things like that
Mm-hmm.
for feces. And basically the deal is it's all over everything.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a couple years ago, there was a story that came out and said that they had tested the touch screens at McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
and McDonald's, they all of them tested positive for feces.
Oh, yeah. Yikes.
And here's why I'm telling this
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It's because you just said you're in the bathroom, you see people, they use the stall, and then they just leave.
Mm-hmm.
To all of those people that are like, especially guys, that are like, oh, I don't wash my hands afterwards because my is clean.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The reason why you can smell a fart
Mhm.
is because little particles float through the air.
Yeah.
So if you've been farting all day, your whole underwear area is covered in it.
Yeah.
So your thing is not
Yeah.
clean.
Yeah.
It's covered in poop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then you touch that, and then you probably
Yeah.
ate your lunch. So
Right.
you're
Yeah.
a poop eater.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, man, I don't know. I'm not saying that you need to be like scared of everything, but like I understand the people who are overly cautious. Like I would say the one thing that, which maybe it sounds contradictory, but the one thing that I can't stand too is that people who will like use a public restroom and then they like leave the water on because they're like, you'll use the urinal or the stall and then they go wash their hands. But then they're like, okay, I just washed my hands. I dried them using a paper towel or whatever, but I'm not going to touch the faucet because, but
Okay.
like,
I get where you're coming from, and I do think it's a little ridiculous.
yeah,
Although in today's day and age, I would just say they should have the motion sensor ones
Yeah.
installed,
yeah,
and they should be motion sensor soap. And I will say, I would rather have paper than the blower
yeah,
because
yeah. Did they do an experiment on that too? 'Cause-
well, there's been articles that have said since there are particles floating around in the bathroom,
Mhm.
the blower sucks that in and blows it all over your hands.
yeah,
So you just wash your hands and then you sprayed
Yeah,
them
yeah.
with whatever's in
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
One, I like the paper for the fact that I know it feels cleaner. But the other thing is I can use it to open the doorknob
yeah, yeah,
because I watch all these
Yeah.
people go out
Yeah.
without using the sink, and I'm like,
Yeah. yeah. I just use my foot on the little kick plate to open the door if I have to.
yeah,
You
me
know.
too.
Yeah,
But where I'm going with this is,
Yeah.
I agree with you. The world is gross,
Yeah.
but I think everything is just kind of covered. in
yeah,
it.
yeah. At this point, yes, it is. Yeah. So we got like poop all over the place.
Plus germs and
Yes,
everything
yeah.
else. Yeah.
So let us know what you think about anything we talked about. Leave some comments and any of your feedback Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And remember, if you're from Wisconsin or Ohio,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sorry about the
No,
comments.
get some original ideas.